Microvoxels. That's a term that was invented by landmark players to describe a voxel that's smaller than the default size. The default size is what you get just with your add tool at the smallest possible size setting, and you can change the size of that with the mouse wheel, scrolling up and down. And handy tip, if you have it larger than the default, note that you have a modal toolbar that pops up whenever you select one of these tools. Right at the end here, the period on your keyboard will snap you directly to the default smallest size and back again. So that's a quick toggle. However, quick reminder as well, as you should remember from the previous tutorials, every voxel is always attached, connected to all of its neighbors, which is 26 neighbors. You have 9 neighbors on the top. This black voxel in the middle has 9 voxels above it, which are all attached to it either by a full face, an edge, or just by a little corner, but they are attached. It's got another 9 down at the bottom, and it's got 8 around the equator. So 26 voxels are always attached to any voxel in Landmark, and that means that anytime you make a change to any voxel, 26 other voxels are potentially affected. So, microvoxels are typically created using the smooth tool, although that doesn't have to be the case. That's the easiest way. Smooth tool is this orange guy here. And let me shrink my brush down. If I put this at the smallest size, just over a voxel, which I've floated in the air, and I click, left click, we'll smooth it fairly dramatically. If I don't want to smooth it so dramatically, I have an option. Again, you can find all these in the modal toolbar here, which popped up when I selected the smooth tool. Fine smoothing if I hold down the F. So let me hit undo, that's Control Z, or Z if you're American, and hold down F while I left click. Much smaller smoothing. Here if I do that twice, and here if I do that 2, 3 times, I can make incrementally smaller sizes of voxel, or microvoxel as I say. Why would I want to do this? You can use these for a number of different things. Building furniture out of voxels is a very common use. But remember, every time I did that, I changed the shape of all of the neighboring voxels around it. And I can do this for a whole line of voxels and get every possible gradation in between. If it's something that you're going to be using often, you might want to just create that whole set and then save them by pasting them on a row, which you'll see I've done over here. The orange one is the default voxel shape that you just get with the plain add tool, and then I've gone all the way down the line and increasingly shrunk them all by one fine smoothing to the next. So if I ever want one, I can just pick the size I want, grab it, copy paste. You don't have to do that, but if you are going to be using this kind of thing a lot, it's handy. So why would I do that? Well, for example, I can now use this. Oops, I won't build in sand because that's hard to see. Let me select, actually no, let me select Ruby, because Ruby is pretty, and I have a lot of it. Alright, so add tool. Ooh, let me float that in the air so it does not blend with the sand. Sand, being a natural terrain material, blends more than building type materials, so you wouldn't usually make a floor out of it. I was in a bit of a hurry setting up today. Alright, so there's 2 normal voxel squares of Ruby. Let's grab this little one here and paste it on top. So what should happen? As you should remember from a previous tutorial, the game will always try and maintain the shape of the most recently placed voxel, which means when I place this microvoxel, it should remain looking exactly as it does when I copied it. But that means that its neighbors, all 26 voxels around it, are going to be forced to change shape to allow it to keep its shape, because they always have to touch. And since they share, in this case, a side, they're going to share a side between the one I'm pasting and the Ruby below it. the top of the ruby will have to be stretched upwards to meet it and stretched inwards to match the size of its side. So when I paste it, as you can see, that's exactly what happened. And people use this particular effect to make things like wine bottles out of voxels. You could also make goblets, glasses, whatever. Had I used a smaller voxel at the top, I would have a smaller effect. So that's microvoxels.